When Claire first landed in Manila, the heat hit her like an invisible wall. The air was thick, a kind of humid blanket she'd never known in her quiet hometown in Oregon. The sounds were overwhelming. Honking cars, shouts of "grab, grab, taxi," and the sizzle of street food. It was pure chaos. But underneath it all, there was something else, something she couldn't quite name. Before she came, Claire had read countless blogs about the Philippines. Some called Filipinos the kindest people on earth. Others were cynical. One forum post declared bluntly, "Filipino hospitality is fake. They're only nice if you're a foreigner with money." So, she arrived with a skeptical heart. As a researcher studying post-disaster community recovery, she told herself she was there for data, not emotions. But the Philippines had other plans for her. Her first week was a mess. The apartment she'd booked was next to a noisy construction site. The power went out twice in one day. Then, one night, a sudden storm flooded her street knee-deep in brown water. She sat on her bed, staring out the window, seriously wondering if she'd made a huge mistake. Then, a knock on the door. It was a middle-aged woman with a warm, genuine smile, holding an umbrella. "Ma'am, the water might rise higher," she said gently. "You can stay with us if you like. Our house is just across." Claire hesitated. In the US, strangers don't offer shelter during floods. They don't even make eye contact in elevators. But this woman's eyes held nothing but sincere concern. Her name was Ailing Tess. Within minutes, Claire was barefoot, following Tess through the rain to a small but tidy home. The air inside smelled of fried fish. 2 children sat on the couch waving shyly. "Come, sit, eat," Tess said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. That night, as the rain poured, Claire ate rice, dried fish, and tomatoes with her hands for the very first time. She laughed as Tess showed her how to properly scoop the rice. The family talked about their life, how typhoons were a constant reality, how they rebuilt every single year, and how neighbors always helped each other without a second thought. The next morning, when the floodwaters had gone down, Claire tried to pay Tess for her kindness. Tess gently refused. "Next time, you help someone else," she said with a smile. "That's how we do it here." Those words echoed in Claire's mind for the rest of her trip. She traveled from Manila to Tacloban, studying how communities rebuilt after the devastating Typhoon Haiyan. And in every town, she found the same heartbeat: people helping each other, sharing what little food they had, rebuilding homes, and somehow still laughing. In Tacloban, she met a fisherman named Jojo, who had lost his boat in the storm. He told her how his neighbors gathered scrapwood, and together built him a new one. When Claire asked why they would do all that work for free, he looked at her, confused by the question. "Because he is my neighbor," Jojo said simply. "If he sinks, we all sink." Claire wrote down his words, trying to fight the lump forming in her throat. She'd interviewed survivors in other countries, but they spoke with bitterness and anger. Here, they spoke with gratitude and humor. In a small coastal village, she stayed with a family who ran a tiny convenience store. Every evening, the mother, Liza, would invite her to sit outside, sharing noodles and stories while kids ran barefoot and men fixed broken roofs. One night, Claire asked Liza how she stayed so cheerful despite losing her home to floods twice. Liza smiled softly. "Because I didn't lose my family," she said. "Everything else, you can build again." That simple answer hit Claire like a wave. Back home, she'd seen people crumble over losing a job or a car. Here, people smiled even after the sea had taken everything they owned. Then came the turning point. Claire got sick. A nasty stomach infection left her weak and feverish for days. Her insurance coverage was limited, and she was too dizzy to even think about getting to a hospital. She felt completely alone. But somehow, word got around the neighborhood. The next morning, ailing Tess showed up again, this time with a bowl of warm rice porridge, herbal tea, and some medicine. "You need to eat," she said firmly, like a mother scolding her child. Later that day, the kids from next door brought her fresh mangoes. Someone else sent over soup. Another neighbor quietly did her dishes. It was an army of quiet kindness, all working without being asked. When Claire finally recovered, she broke down and cried. Not from the pain of the sickness, but from the overwhelming love she had witnessed. She had once believed the smiles were fake. But fake smiles don't cook porridge for a sick stranger. They don't share their last bowl of rice. They don't check on you every hour when they barely even know your name. Months later, her research was complete, but Claire found she didn't want to leave. The Philippines had changed her. Not the tourist spots or the white sand beaches, but the people. She started volunteering at a small community center, teaching English to children who would greet her every morning with a cheerful, "Good morning, Ate Claire," and a hug. The staff started calling her family. When her birthday came, they surprised her with a simple chocolate cake from a local bakery. On it, the words, "We love you, Ate." As they all sang to her, she realized no birthday party back in America had ever felt so full of genuine love. Her last day in the Philippines came too soon. The entire village came to say goodbye. The children gave her drawings they had made. Liza handed her a small hand-woven bag. "For luck," she said, her eyes tearing up. "So you don't forget us." On the flight back to Los Angeles, Claire stared out the window, tears streaming down her face. She thought about the laughter during floods, the food shared in candlelight, the warmth of hands that held nothing but still gave everything. When she got back, her friends asked her the question she'd been dreading. "So, is Filipino hospitality real, or just a show?" Claire smiled, hearing Tess's voice in her head. "No," she said firmly. "It's not fake. It's who they are." Claire published her study, "The Heart of Recovery, Filipino Resilience and Community Solidarity." But what mattered more than the academic praise were the letters she received from Filipinos living abroad. They wrote to her, saying they cried reading her work. "You captured who we are," one message said. 2 years later, Claire returned to the Philippines. This time, not for work, but for life. She moved into a small home by the sea. She no longer felt like an outsider. She belonged. In her journal, she wrote, "They called Filipino hospitality fake, but I've learned it's more real than anything I've ever known. It's not about fancy treatment or polite words. It's about love in motion. It's about strangers who become family." One evening, watching the sunset with Liza, her friend looked at her and said, "You look happy." "I am," Claire replied, a deep sense of peace washing over her. "You all showed me what home really means." Claire learned that in the Philippines, kindness isn't a transaction. It's a way of life. It's the most authentic thing she had ever known. A love that expects nothing in return. A warmth that turns strangers into family. Because here, even strangers have a place at the table. And for Claire, that table had finally become home. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this story with me. If it touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories that celebrate the beauty of human connection. See you in the next one.